Welcome to the Burst Edition of the Purple Rain podcast, where all this week we are going to be going down memory lane as we are pretty much in the final countdown to Milano-Cortina. It's pretty exciting. So we're going to just go down memory lane of the previous four Winter Olympics that I have been involved with. We've mentioned it several times on the show now, but my first involvement with the women's game began in 2010 when the games were held in Vancouver. And of course, since then I've been involved with the women's game ever since. This is going to be my 5th Olympics coming up in Milano-Cortina. And of course, obviously the first one since the PHL was created. So just so exciting. It's going to be our most exciting tournament yet. We cannot wait. So these next 4 editions of Purple Rain, I'm going to be taking you down memory lane, starting where it all began in Vancouver back in 2010. So we're really looking forward to doing that, and we'll get straight to it. I just need to finish getting some things loaded up to help me out, so I'm just going to do that now. Let's see if we can get a recap. Just give me 2 seconds. Yep, that's all good. Okay, yeah, right. So, we're going to start with 2010 Vancouver. So, for 2010, I was 13 at the time. I'd only been involved with hockey for, I think, say, a year. I'd only been with the San Jose Sharks for a year. I was 13. I had just started the Horrors, that is high school. I was year 7. And I don't really have any Winter Olympic memories before 2010. I don't even know if I did watch Torino in 2006. I don't know if I did. I definitely remember watching Beijing 2008. But that's largely because I remember playing on the Nintendo Wii. This is going to be put very old, by the way. I remember playing this video game called Mario and Sonic at the Beijing Olympics. I remember playing that as a kid. So I do have memories of the summer games in Beijing. But I think, if we're looking at Winter Olympics, I've only got memories from 2010 onwards. So I can't say to you for certain I remember watching things pre-2008 Olympics, but I don't think I do. Yeah, so my Winter Olympic memories as a whole just start from 2010. Anyway. Yeah, so I was 13 at the time. Still was quite new to the game, didn't know much about it, and obviously, back in 2010, the women's tour was just something that I just watched, as like, oh well, it's Olympics, it depends on, you watch it. So that's what we do a lot with Olympics, is it, where it's summer and winter. If it's sports we're not particularly keen on, or we're not really involved with, it's on the telly, you're watching. Okay? And that's kind of what it was in 2010, and yet, I was pleasantly surprised with how well I actually managed to take it into my stride and how really stuck in. I got with it and really invested, which is why, to this day, I still find it really frustrating that I did not know that there was a Women's World Championships that existed. Because if I had known about that, that could have helped tie me over in non-Olympic years, because before 2022, the World Championships were held in non-Olympic years. So they didn't have one in 2010, 14 or 18. They did have one in 2022, but you could argue the pandemic was a result of that, because obviously in 2021 it got cancelled. So I've missed out on a lot of Women's World Championships, and I think that is at the fault of the BBC. Because it's no good just showing the sports. You have to basically tell people how they can get involved with the sports if they want to. Okay, so I'm blaming the BBC for that. So there you go. So I was quite a young kid, still new to the sport, but really I got into the stride a bit and was really engaged in it. And I remember at the time thinking, oh well, the next games were around Sochi. I'm really going to have a look forward to that again. And that's going to be one of the events I'm going to keep a close eye on. And it has been ever since. For me, in the Winter Olympics, I have two main sports I always definitely follow. And that is hockey and curling. And then everything else, I try to see what I can get. Because I've said plenty of times now, when it comes to the Winter Olympics, I will pretty much watch anything and everything. But I do have some sports. Like, I'm sure you guys have got sports for the Summer Games that you constantly follow. I've got sports for Winter Olympics that I definitely follow. And those are my two. But I remember the time being, I was quite a young kid, I still was quite new to sport, didn't really know what I was doing, and just basically watched it because it was on the telly, like you do with a lot of Olympic sports. But come the end of that tournament, I actually was really hooked with it, and thought, yeah, definitely going to work now and out again, we roll around to Sochi. We had quite a thrilling tournament, I mean, obviously, Canada hosting it on home soil, would have gone in as a contender with the USA. A lot of pressure would have been on the Canadians, obviously, to get that goal, given how it's home soil. And we actually had on a previous edition of the Olympic Hockey Show, we actually did look back on both the men's and the women's tournament to see when the last time the host nation had won. And it's between Maya and Bowman with Olympic hockey, so in 2010 onwards. It's only happened once, and that was in 2010 when Canada won both the gold in the men's and women's. So the host nations haven't really had that much success in the Olympics, and I think the next possibility we could see a host nation win will be in 8 years' time when we go to Salt Lake City. That will be the earliest will next see a home nation win hockey in the Olympics, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. So I'm going to now do a little quick recap, and then also going to give you the final standings that we're going to do for each game. So that's what we're going to do these little recap shows. You have a little bit of a build up. You're going to have recap, final standings, and then some final thoughts. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. So let's get started. So we're going to start this recap. Okay, let me get it back on my screen. Okay. So the 2010 Winter Olympics women's hockey final, Canada defeated the United States with a final score of 2-0 to win the gold medal. The victory was Canada's third consecutive Olympic gold in women's ice hockey. So this was very much the dynasty of Canada, because obviously the US won the first gold in 1988, and then 2002, Canada won it on the US turf, despite being underdogs. And of course, we all have to 2006, and then obviously 2010, and then they would go on and win it again in 2014. And then of course, we know what happened after that. But Canada dominated this event. So this you could argue is when the dynasty was official, because people were saying in hockey, you're not a dynasty till you've done it 3 times in a row. And I'm like, well, 2's enough, isn't it? 2's enough to call a dynasty? Apparently not. Anyway. So the gold medal game took place on the 25th of February 2010 in front of a record crowd in Vancouver. And all the scoring in that game occurred in the first period, with Canadian forward Marie-Philippe Poulin scoring both goals. And little did we know back then that she would be a huge factor for Team Canada, but also the women's game as a whole. I mean, she got those 2 golden goals in Vancouver, which really sort of set her up for her career. Of course, I will always remember last year when Vancouver got awarded their PHLT, and Tessa put one of those city officials firmly in their place. Go find it back, you'll love it. Canada's goaltender Shannon Sabrados had a standout performance, making 28 saves to secure a shutout. And the Canadian team was actually dominant throughout the entire tournament. They only conceded 2 goals in 5 games, and shutting out the US in the final, a rare feat in this rivalry. Wow, pretty amazing. In the bronze medal game, Finland defeated Sweden at 3-2 in overtime to secure the bronze medal. And of course, going into those games, Sweden were defending silver medalists after the shock result we had the previous games in 2006. So, but still, to get to a medal match 3 is a really good showing, given how I'm not sure many people going to that tournament would know what to make of Sweden, given how we were expecting you to get to the final in 06. What luck do you have this time around? I know. And back then, there was only 8 teams that competed in this tournament. Only 8 teams. So it's nothing like we've got today. We have now 10 teams. There was only 8 competing back in 2010. So to be in the top 4, I think in that time would be an achievement regardless. But incredible, just really incredible. So I'm going to go through the final standings now. So these were the final rankings. So in 8th place, you had Slovakia. In 7th place, China. 6th place, Russia. 5th place, Switzerland. 4th place, Sweden. 3rd, bronze medalists, Finland. Silver medalists, USA. And gold medalists, Canada. And that was the final rankings for Vancouver 2010. And it was a really good first tournament for me to get stuck in and get a taste of what women's hockey could be as a whole. Because obviously, we go back to 2010. It just didn't really feel possible that we could get a pro women's league. And it just, 13, I was quite a young kid. If you were to go back to that 13 or 2010 and say to him that one day you are going to be involved in a women's pro league, and you're going to do all this advocacy work, and also you're then going to actually fly out one day to actually see an actual women's game in person, he wouldn't believe you, because obviously he was still new to the game at the time. It just, of course, back then, just still did not feel possible at all. So it's incredible to see how far we've come now in the game. But yeah, so it was a great first game for me, to just really, get stuck in, see what the upper side is like. Because a lot of people back then wouldn't have had the opportunity to experience women's hockey, whether it be in person or on the telly. And it was a great opportunity for me to see what it's like, and then had something to look forward to the next time the games were on. Because I remember after 2010, after the opening close ceremony, I remember thinking, okay, that event I'm going to focus on again in 4 years' time in Sochi. That's going to be the main event that I would be focusing on. So, yeah, it was a really good tournament. I don't remember too much about it because I was very young at the time. That's why when we did about early editions of the Olympic Hockey Show, we read a news article on the Hockey News about some Olympic memories, and one of them was, of course, Canada's celebration of that gold, which I remember reading it. I was like, did this really happen? And of course, you watch that episode by playing, like, they kind of like turn to me, try to expect me to be the one remembering that. I was like, no, I don't. But yeah, but only Canada have quite the celebration, which I'm not surprised, given how you're on a home games, you've just won gold, and it's very very rare that in Olympic hockey, that the host nation wins. I'm not sure what it is all time. We only went from 2010 to the present day, but if you maybe go back further, maybe there are other examples of host nations having won it on their turf. But it's only happened once so far in my involvement with Olympic hockey, and I don't see it happening again until I am 37. Yeah. I'll be that old when we get to Salt Lake. But yeah, so yeah. That's no disrespect to both the team Italy and Team France. It's just you're very unlikely gonna. It's just we don't really think you're. It's a bit unlikely. Okay, it's no disrespect, but just how it works. You know how it works. I mean, who's gonna top the US and Canada these days? It's quite hard about it. And Scandinavia and Czechia, naming more nations may need to watch out for who can be rather, but France, Italy, probably not. It's no disrespect to those two nations, but it's unlikely we're going to see that happening. So the earliest we might get another host nation win could be Salt Lake City in 2034, so 8 years from now. So in 2 Olympic cycles' time, that could be when we get the next home nation win. Or who knows? By then, maybe the other nations might throttle the US. We might. Who knows? We'll see. We will see. We will see. We will see what happens then. But yeah, but it was a really great tournament and a great first taste for me to get that experience, to see what it's like watching the women's game as a whole. Yeah, it's a really great start, really great fun, fun games to be involved with, and great first taste of the women's game. And I definitely had an interest. 2010 started the interest, and definitely started got on the journey that I would eventually take. It's just it needed another couple of cycles for me to really feel at home with it. So when we get to the episode on Pion Chad, that's when you're going to hear a bit more depth, a bit more detail, because obviously that point, that was when I kind of felt most comfortable with the game and knew what I was doing. Anyways. And of course, obviously these games were very crucial, obviously for obviously the likes of, as we mentioned, Captain Clutch, MPP, but also Harry Knight. And Kendall, she wasn't in that tournament. She actually was in the next one, because in Milan it's actually going to be her 4th Olympics, so she didn't begin her Olympic journey until the next one, and which actually took me by surprise when we got the news about who was going to represent the for on USA. It's like, really? She wasn't 2010 as well? So obviously, with my generation, if you asked me to name women's hockey players, it would be those 3. So Marie Plen, Henry Knight, and Carol Coyne Schofield. And I've always just associated him in the same Olympic class, but clearly not. Kendall was the cycle after those 2. But anyway, still a huge party of the game, and of course we would not have the PHL if it wasn't for her. So yeah. But in terms of as a whole, with Banco 2010, it was a really nice tournament to get me started, and it was going to be interesting to see when we got to Sochi, could I build on the fun I had in 2010, could I build on that for the next one, and then hopefully the next cycle to come after that. But it was really good fun. It was a really nice tournament. So Canada, I'll just once again remind you of my list to sign off. So Canada took gold, USA took silver, and then Finland took the bronze. And that's going to do it for this little recap of the Vancouver 2010 Winter Olympic Games.